Hello and welcome to Bitcoin Smart Money, a show about Bitcoin and the U.S. markets. It's been 9 days since our last show, and I wanted to touch base since we've been up 25.2% since the 25th of April. And I just wanted to, look at things that we talked about. And, one of the first things was the volume. We had seen some anemic volume dry up. And what had happened is once that volume shortage happened, you saw the wedge building, and after the wedge was built, volume exploded to the upside. So, a 25% move in 9 days is just unheard of in U.S. markets, unless you're talking, biotechs, IPOs, things like that. But normal large cap companies don't move like this. So it's really important to know that, 25% in 9 days, really fast. It's a lot. We have good volume, though. Volume's a little lower today, this morning, than it was yesterday morning at this time. So it's just important to note that. But we have broken through the channel here, and that's really important also to note. So when we broke through the channel and I got up this morning, one of the things that I was trying to think about is what really the next move or two would be for Bitcoin. And what I saw was, based on the mathematical algorithm that I run, the strength of the trend, it's getting towards its last moves based on what I can see here from a longer term perspective. But I do think we could have one more move up into the 16s, mid 16s, and then see where things go. But there's going to be that point when things turn, and when they turn fast. So that's just one thing I wanted to get out there for this morning, and saying we're above the channel. We're going to probably move one more leg above in that channel. And then things could start to retrace. We're just so overextended from our moving averages, just from a lot of point of views, and a lot of that is speculation moves. The Japanese economy accepting Bitcoin as a currency and recognizing it is really important. But we have to realize that with them accepting it as a form of exchange, and that it's recognized, is that this adoption takes a long time. So businesses will start to adopt. They'll start to see the advantages where when they would hold dollars, their dollars would, or not their dollars, when they would hold yen, the yen will depreciate over time. You could see with that economy, over the past 25, 30 years after it hit its boom, it's never been able to really come back. And it's slowly made gains, it's slowly made advancements. But when it hit the bubble in the early 90s and everything just went south for the Japanese economy, it was really hard for everyone over there to come back, because they were just so used to these incredible gains that they had been making. And we fast forward now 25, 30 years, and we see that they're willing to take a kind of a leap of faith into the cryptocurrency space. And I think that could be really good for the Japanese economy, the people of Japan, being one of the first countries to take this advantage. I think could be fruitful for them in years to come. Looking at the hourly chart here on Coinbase, we see that the buy came in around 1190, 1192, and that was on the 17th of April. So to be in an hourly trend for that long is really remarkable. But to make such a move, 30 some odd percent, is also very, very incredible. So from that point of view, we do see we're above this channel, and we have to know that that next leg up could be happening, but the weakness will be there eventually. And when that weakness is there, it'll step in fast, and it's going to step in fast. But we have to not rush to the doors like everybody's going to be doing. We have to understand that this is very momentous for Bitcoin to be trading in the 1500 range, the 1600 range. It shows that the price can get there. So if we do experience, that bull market issue, or some type of, retracement that affects you emotionally, because I'm telling you, a 30% retracement will affect you emotionally. And it's so funny too, because how can a 30% retracement truly affect you when you've made 60% gains or more? We have to understand psychologically as traders that when we make the gains, we have to realize and accept some of those gains and take a little bit off the table, because if we don't, those gains are never ours, and we'll have to wait an extremely long time to recoup and get back to having some profit there, to where when it does evaporate, it's gone and you can't go back and try to make that sell. Because when it's up here, you're like, okay, it's going to keep going up, I have all this profit. But when it starts to turn, you're not going to be willing to sell as that turn happens, because you're going to feel like it's going to bounce back, or if this is just a sell off. When things are going good, you have to be able to say things are going good. I don't need to get happier than happy. Happy is good for a reason. When you try to get too happy, you try to add too many things to your strategy. That's when things can go not the way we plan. So that's all I really wanted to say. I know I keep hammering that point home, but it's just when we take 20, 30, 40, 50% gains over such short periods of time, we've got to do that. And no matter whether it's, one coin, 10 coins that you have, or 100 coins, you just do a percentage that you feel comfortable with. But you need to have that diversification of both asset classes of cash and Bitcoin, or you won't be able to take advantage of the depreciation of Bitcoin when it does happen and use your cash. Because it's at that time when Bitcoin does go down that you're not going to want to use your cash, but that is actually the time that you should be using your cash. So, these are just things that we need to remind ourselves. Okay, so I pulled up a 10-minute chart here, which really shows us, what's going on in a real short term for the day, essentially. And I have probably 2 or 3 days pulled up here that you can see from the price point of view. But from a 10-minute perspective, it's been long since May 2nd, and we're making higher lows, so it really looks great for price action. The resistance is going to be at that 1590 level. Should we take that out? It's going to form a form of support short term, but it does look really good based on how we're moving. With the strength of the trend looks good. You can see here as it moves up, it does, it gives off a little bit just so it gets that release that it needs to make it another pump up, which it has done several times. So we could see that potentially happening again, coming down into here, into that 1560 range short term, and then going for its next leg up. So I think I could see that short term, and that wraps things up this week for the Bitcoin trade. So let's go through and kind of review what the pros and cons of everything are. The pros for me, as I can see it, are the price can get here. You got more people, more awareness, more use cases, so growth is there. Bitcoin's at the top of the food pyramid. All the other sharks and swimming fish of the altcoins, they need to go through Bitcoin. So we're still at the top. We've got the same money supply, but we've got increased growth. Simple economics principle tells us that this price is real, that this is having use cases and having real life benefits for people that need to exchange value and cross borders. So I think these still principles are going to apply in 2017, 2020. As we see the increased awareness, we still have the same 21 million coins. We have more growth, which should just increase our price and validity of Bitcoin as the best digital asset class in the world. And at these price points, it's hard to have a few cons, but I'm going to have a few, and here they are. The first one is most people aren't going to take profits, and my problem with that is when you have profits in something, to be able to use some of that for your lifestyle or for another investment is so important, but we don't do that. And when I was talking about the Japanese economy earlier, if you were a Japanese investor and you did not take profits when you had such immense gains, you've never ever been able to come back to where you once were. So I'm not trying to be doomsday guy. I'm just trying to say, let's all enjoy things and take some perspective, because we see the people that we're around with every day. We have confirmation bias with what we research on news articles, with who we surround ourselves with what we read. So it's just really important just to say, hey, I need to keep myself in check and be fair to this trade. Because you can't just walk in as a trader or as an investor and just make 25, 50, 75% off the bat. And if you do, you should be extremely grateful because those opportunities don't come to many people. So if you have that, it's just something to be understanding of, and that you're not going to just walk into Bitcoin or into an alt, put a few grand in and then have that turn into 10, 20, 100 grand. That's what everybody wants to do, but it's not. It's patience. It's the slow grind. It's the journey to the end game. And what's that end game? That end game is Bitcoin showing us its use cases and serving its value. Because when it does that and it's a win-win, that means the price will go up. 50% gains in 9 days. If you give up 35%, you're still up 15%. It's all about perspective. Always take a little for yourself. And I'm Mark Dukas, and we'll see you next time.